Hello, sisters, and welcome to Go Solo Live. This is Jennifer Buchholz with Transform Via Travel. It's time to sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy my conversation with Terra Lyles as she shares stories about how she went from nurse to travel agent.
Welcome to Go Solo Live.
Don't you mean go solo live? Have you ever been asked why on earth would you travel alone? Go Solo Live not only answers that question, but celebrates life as a midlife solo traveler. This is a safe place for women to come together to reminisce about their travels, encourage others to travel, and to dig into the real lessons learned from these journeys. Now join Jennifer Buchholz with Transform Via Travel as she and her guests share stories of the solo travelers of midlife women.
Today, I'd like to welcome Terra Lyles from North Carolina to the show. Welcome, Terra.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Well, I'm so excited to have our first travel agent sharing her story. While we've had people who have worked in other parts of travel in the past, I don't believe that we've actually had an agent on. So that makes me very happy and excited. I would love to hear, how did you get started in everything related to travel? What's your story, Terra?
Well, Jennifer, I actually come from a nursing background. I went to nursing school, was super excited upon graduation, but life happened. I was in a car accident and I was suffering neck and back injuries to the point where I could not work on the nursing floor. So I needed something that I could do part-time from home to supplement my income. So I became a travel agent. With no experience, I simply got started. I started passing out my business cards, and that was an amazing way to get started for me.
Okay, so let's take a step back. Where were you at in your life when this car accident happened? What was going on? What was going on at home?
I'm a single mom. I have 3 children. So as I went through nursing school, I had to pretty much fend for myself. I had to make ends meet. And I was so excited to get through nursing school that now I could literally live the life that I had planned out, right? But that
Absolutely.
didn't happen.
That, just when we make plans, somebody, they say, man plans, God laughs. So it's unfortunate, but that is real. So you're trying to figure out then a way to work from home and do something of interest and still be able to be a mom to your 3 kids.
Exactly. Juggling, taking them to different sporting events, attending to my child that has special needs, being at his doctor's appointments. I kind of did not know that becoming a travel agent would actually help me and lighten the load of being a single mom.
So how did the topic even get introduced to you? Because I was sharing off the air that this was something that was recently introduced to me. And even though I've been doing stuff in travel for years, I didn't know that was a path that I was even considering. How did that come up as you were looking for what options you were going to use to make money and to put food on the table for your family?
Well, actually, a friend of mine, he actually introduced it to me, and I was sharing with him how I need to make additional money. And he said, give it a shot. So it was as simple as that, just stepping out on faith and trying something different.
Okay, well, that must have been a pretty good friend, though, if you were willing to step out on faith in that way.
Yes.
What were some of your fears, or what were some of the things that you believed were going to be true when you decided to go this route?
Well, I have opened my own business in the clothing industry before. So I had a little experience about the process of opening a new business. So that wasn't new to me, but the fact that it was a new industry that I knew hardly anything about frightened me initially.
That makes sense. And so let's rewind the clock a bit. So, because this is after you had, gotten started in a career and been established, what was your travel experiences like before you decided to go this route?
Well, I have the pleasure to live in central North Carolina. So I am 2.5 hours from my hometown of Asheville, which is the mountains. And then I'm about 3 hours away from the beach. So I'm in a very good location. So anytime I would want to take family vacations or just to get away, I could go to the beach. Or if I needed a retreat, I could go to the mountains. So that was the extent of my traveling. Never did any international traveling and never thought that was something I wanted to do.
Got it. Because you kind of had the best of both worlds right in your own backyard.
Yes.
That's very convenient. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what it took to take the leap. You took this leap of faith. What was it like for you to get started? And then let's talk about where has that led to for you?
Well, my passion was always just to help people. So I just thought that the career of being a nurse was just the only thing I could do. But I was really mistaken. When travel found me, it changed my whole perspective about being there for other people and helping other people. Now, travel is my way of life. It's almost like a mission statement. I feel that if I can help you travel the world, enjoy your life, and I can help you set up affordable payment plans and do all the accommodations for you, I truly believe that I'm doing my part in society.
Well, that's really altruistic. Who are the people that you are best at helping?
I love helping single moms. I love helping families, middle-class families. I love helping people that attend church, that love to go on faith-based retreats. I love helping people on faith-based retreats. I love setting it up. I even like to go, but don't tell nobody.
I love that. So I will say, our focus right here is talking about the solo travelers, the women who like to travel alone. And one of the things that comes up is using a travel agent to plan your trip. Even, is it like cheating? Because in some society idea of what solo travel is, that it just has to be even the planning experience of it has to be really solitary. And I don't subscribe to that idea. So, our podcast focuses on the experience of the solo women traveler. And one of the things that comes up is whether using a travel agent to help plan a solo trip is considered cheating. And I'm using air quotes around that word right now. And while I don't subscribe to that idea, I know many in the solo travel realm would say getting help is cheating, and that, it should be done in this every person planning their own their very own specialized trip, and that using the travel agent isn't quite playing fair. Again, I don't subscribe to that, but what are your impressions along that line?
Well, Jennifer, all transactions around travel, there's a commission attached, right? So
Yes.
we're not adding anything to anyone's package. And what I love the most is while that customer is out thinking about going on an amazing vacation, I'm working for them. I'm out looking for the best rate possible at an affordable place so that they can have an amazing time. And the other thing that I love is that I can cater it to that person's needs. If you want to go on and see the Eiffel Tower by yourself, I can help you do that. I can cater your needs. And we work together. And that's the benefit of having a travel agent. I can save you time and money while you focus on having a great time.
Perfect. And I think that's one of the most important things that a lot of people don't hear. There are situations where a person plans an itinerary for someone and then gives that itinerary to a traveler. And then the traveler goes and maybe hunts for their best deals and books the prices on their own. And if you're doing something in that situation, there truly should be a charge for that, because the back end system, the way that a typical travel agent transaction works, is that the travel agent puts that itinerary together based on what you've expressed are your wants and needs and desires. And then because they're booking it, they get paid from the providers. So there's a couple different ways to go on that, but in the end, somebody's getting paid. If it's hotels.com or Kayak, they're getting the commission. So again, somebody's getting paid. It's just a different level of service when you use a person that you actually could interact with directly as an agent. Does that seem like a fair recap?
Yes. And the best thing about having your own personal travel agent is it's personal to you. When you book on outside websites, you don't know who you're talking to. You can't reference back and call that person up. And when you deal with a travel agent, all you have to do is dial that travel agent's number and speak with them personally and help them navigate through any problems that you may have, whether it's in states or internationally. And that's the benefit of becoming a travel agent.
So in that instance, it actually sort of creates a community or a team around a solo traveler as well. It's not that you're calling some anonymous source for backup and support. You're calling your person that you've already said what's most important to you about that trip and things like that. So again, I would just want people to really think about, when I talk to people who take organized tours as part of their travel, one of the things that they love is that they didn't have to do all the planning. They could just pack, show up, and go. And that's one of the things that working with a travel agent can provide for folks. There is the other thing. Let's talk for a moment about the level of expertise that's coming to the table when working with a travel agent. Because I know when I've said, oh, I'd like to try this spot, there was current information from my travel agent saying, the reviews I've heard back from that lately said the construction that's going on there is much worse than anticipated. There's an expertise. Can you tell a little bit about not only what your expertise is, but how do you grow that expertise?
Yes, Jennifer. Travel agents have a vast of information to learn, and you can't possibly know it all. But the relationships that travel agents build with other vendors you cannot trade that for anything. And me personally, I further my education by going to the different destinations, learning as much as I can. I have a trip coming up in 2 weeks to Mexico to learn all the history of Mexico, just so I can come back and share it with my guests. And the other great thing is, I have relationships with vendors that I can call in that destination, and they can tell me all about the pros and the cons of that resort or area, and I can then share it with my customer. Once again, saving them time and money.
Absolutely. And honestly, saving time, saving money, and creating an experience that is one that people would want to brag about and take pictures at rather than complain about and want to have fixed. That when somebody, especially that solo traveler who's looking to go away and have this thing that they probably have been dreaming about, the last thing that folks want to do is to go back and say, yep, I had problems at this hotel, or this didn't turn out. And when you plan it all yourself, that's all on you. And when you use a trusted expert, it gives you some additional reassurance, because once you're gone and once you've spent that money, you can't really get the money back generally. And you certainly can't get that time back to say, oh, I'm going to just do a repeat of this experience. I'm going to get a redo. It doesn't work like that. So we want people to have their best experience the first time.
Exactly. And we want to grow from those experiences. Once you work with a travel agent and you share your experience of how you experience that resort, then they too can share it with someone else and make that next person's trip even better. Isn't that phenomenal?
Absolutely. And again, that's the part of using a connected expert with that. And there are so many ways to get information about where we're going, but talking to someone who can learn exactly what's important to you, you can't use a filter on a website to make a clear understanding of that. And I will say, I book both ways. I book with travel agents, and I book, on my own using various websites. And there's time and reasons for doing both. So what I'd like to talk about a little bit is some of your favorite destinations personally. And I'd like to hear a little bit about any of your solo travel experience and the good and the bad of that.
Sure, Jennifer. My favorite solo travel was just recently here in November of 2017. I had the opportunity to go to Montego Bay, Jamaica. I was there for 6 days. I had an amazing experience. I went by myself, but because I am a travel agent, I meet other travel agents that also travel alone. So we connected. 2 travel agents came from Asheville. I came from Charlotte, and we met in the destination and had an amazing experience. And what I took from that experience was the connection. Women coming together, sharing with one another, experiencing different things together, whether it be food, music, just having an amazing time connecting with one another. It truly changed my life. And the best thing that I enjoyed while I was there was the magical luminous lagoon. You have to try it.
Now, I have been to Jamaica several times, and I have not been to the Luminous Lagoon yet. Where was that?
Well, we took about a 45-minute ride from Montego Bay to Falmouth, and we went to the Blue Lagoon. We had a tour guide. If you're traveling by yourself, you can drive along. It's a very short drive, and there's parking spaces available for you. And then we experienced the tour guide, the driver of the ship. We got on a little boat and went out into the water. It was amazing. You have to wait till dusk. And then once it's almost dark. So you get out in that beautiful water. It's a blue to dark blue water, something you never experienced. But when you put your hand in that water, it illuminates.
Wow.
And when you get in the water, OMG, it rejuvenates you. They sometimes refer to it as healing waters.
Nice.
This changed my life, Jennifer. I cannot wait to go back and dive in those waters once again.
That sounds amazing. Were you there? You said you were there this January, though. I was there and it was cold, like really cold. Were you there during a cold time?
I went in November.
Oh,
November.
Okay.
Yes, and it's actually a great time to go in November. It did rain a couple of days, but they called it water sunshine. So it dried up and we were able to still enjoy ourselves.
Perfect.
And it was an amazing time to go, and I highly recommend that time of the year as well.
Perfect. Well, that sounds fantastic. So let's talk, though. I want to dig into that just a little bit more. The idea of making those connections when you're there is something that I really feed off of. And for me, I find that I make more friends when I travel alone. Have you had that type of experience as well?
Yes. I'm a people person anyway, Jennifer. I don't meet a stranger. So when you go to the bar and you meet people from all over the world and you share your stories and experience, it truly does something for you. I think meeting the people and connecting with the people that live in those areas were the game changer for me. I love Jamaica and I cannot wait to go back.
That's fantastic. And so Jamaica, though, solo, that's not always one that people feel really comfortable with. Can you talk a little bit about, was this like a familiarization trip, a fam trip that you were on that was the catalyst for going?
It was considered a fam trip. However, we partake in tours on our own. We met a very, a reliable tour guide, and he took us around and we felt very safe. And we did think about that as we were going around to different places. And, it's more about the safety as far as like worrying about your personal belongings and things like that. And just, not going in areas that you shouldn't be in. So your populated areas are safe and you don't have to worry too much about that. It's going on the off-beaten paths and you want to be with a tour guide or someone from that area that can help you out to navigate your way through. I did recently hear of a scare that they had, and I did research and find out more about it. And that has passed, and it's recommended that you can travel safely back to Jamaica. And it was a isolated incident, within certain areas. And once you're on the resorts, they are secure, so you don't have to worry.
That's been my experience as well, is, not only the resorts are secure, and a lot of people, we find a variety of wants and needs when we're working with this solo travel group. And there's some people who would say going to an all-inclusive resort, once again, is not really meeting the needs of or meeting the definition of solo travel. And again, I'm going to call BS on that, because to me, solo travel is whatever you desire and doing what's important to you, not necessarily, not necessarily trying to meet somebody else's definition of what solo travel is. So staying on resort is one way to, have a higher degree of safety. The other thing on that, though, is when you do go off resort, to have a tour guide, at least as a starting point. One of the things that I love to do is I like to always go on a walking tour or a bicycle tour of the city so that I can then make a decision and ask a local, oh, well, if I wanted to go find this kind of restaurant, would you recommend that I do that here? And I ask questions so they can give me, nobody wants you to have a crummy experience in their city, their country. They don't want that bad rap. They want it to be good. So they're going to tell you, oh, well, if you want to do that, here's where you should go, or maybe here's where you should stay away from. And just being smart and following that advice makes a big difference. Have you found the same type of experience?
I have, Jennifer. And one thing that I want to refer to is the fact that I can personalize your travel. So that if you do want that one-on-one person to take you around and reference and tell you all the ins and outs of an area, that is available for you.
Absolutely. And that, again, those are other reasons why, at least, looking into whether using a travel agent is going to say, to me, it just got me to travel faster. When I wanted my very first solo travel trip after age of 40, shortly after my father had passed, was to Montego Bay. And it was only because I called my travel agent and I said, I can go these dates. Here's my budget. This is the couple qualities that I'm looking for. And other than that, I don't care. But then they came back with a few options and I picked one, and that was that. And I went from, I had done so much research on my own. I had liked doing it. That was actually part of my coping mechanism as I was, being a caretaker. And so while I enjoyed doing it, when the time came to actually make the decision, I felt like maybe I didn't have all the information and I could have spent a lot more time doing research, and I wanted to actually go somewhere. So bringing on and working with a travel agent got me to actually go rather than, thinking about it. And I think the more that we can do to eliminate those barriers for travel, the better off we are too. So let's talk a little bit about some of the people that you've helped. What are some of the most fun trips for you to plan?
Well, Jennifer, I recently had a great experience booking a wedding renewal for two couples. How ideal was that, to have two couples join in together and have a wedding renewal on the beach? And how about top it off and have a cruise attached to it?
Wow.
It was an amazing experience. It was a cultural experience, and the backdrop of the beach was amazing.
Neat.
I literally met people that came to this event from all over the world, including Guyana, South America. And
wow.
From that, now I have more clientele. And just to know that that's available, a double wedding on the beach and a cruise packaged all together, truly life-changing.
Now, one of the reasons that we're digging into this part of your work and the business is because some of the things that I hear when I'm out talking to people about travel is, oh, I could never afford to do that. And I'd like to actually spend a little bit of time talking about the business side of how are you finding your customers, how, the familiarization trips that does allow for some travel opportunities inside of that. And then other opportunities that you're finding with running this as a business, and whether people can do it full-time, part-time, or how that works. And again, my purpose for this is because there are a lot of people that I come across that say, well, I want to work in travel and I don't know where to start. And sometimes, and at least for me, the idea of starting my own travel agency seemed so far out of reach until I heard of the organization that you joined. And we'll spend more time talking about that organization at the end of the show. But let's talk about just the process of running this as a travel business.
Yes, Jennifer, I truly believe that this travel agent business is mainly based off of relationships of your past, new relationships, and then other relationships that are going to be formed because your business is going to really reproduce itself. When you do a good job for someone, they're going to spread the word about how great of a time they had. And then the person is going to want to know more about it. So they're going to reach out to that person for a referral. And then that's where your business kind of takes a turn, because you now are duplicating without even having to go out and pay for marketing. And that's the part that I really love. I enjoy working with heart-centered people. That means when people are looking to help one another, it takes the strain off of, the everyday hustle and bustle of it. I do this from my heart. When I did that family gathering, I did it just because I needed to know more about that experience. I did not know that at the end of the day that I would have a lot of income coming from that experience, because that's not where my mind was. My heart was bringing people together for a common cause. And that's what I do when I go out into the world. I look to help other people plan amazing vacations. And in return, I get a great residual, not a residual, but a commission check each time I book a trip. And that has truly changed my life and the way I think about life as a whole.
And so how has this, and again, you're the mom of 3, so that may or may not be different than what the range of our listeners are, but how does this impact your ability to travel as well, and to create a life that regularly involves travel?
Yes. Well, as a travel professional, it's my job to go to these different resorts, check out the water, check out the food, and then come back and report it to my customers. So that allows me to be able to travel for, I would say, for reasonable rates, less than the consumer. So I enjoy being able to go to these resorts and come back with an experience to share with my customers.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I'm able to take my family along, and that is great as well.
That is fantastic. And how old are your kids right now?
I have a 22-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old daughter.
That's fantastic. So they're starting to see, and you've been doing this for 4 years?
Correct.
So they're starting to see the results of mom's hard work.
Correct. And as you put in the work, the results will come. So now that I've planted seeds along the way, some of those seeds did not pan out. I did the work and did not get the job. But guess what? Now those people are coming back to me. They want me to plan their next year's trip. I'm already planning 2019, all because I planted a seed 4 years ago. Truly amazing.
That commitment and longevity does pay off as well. So you're talking about building, and starting out, building this business based on relationships. And for some people, I think that sounds really intimidating. Can you give an example about what your first couple months were like? I know it was a while ago, but.
Well, the experience that I explained to you, that was just me passing out a business card in a grocery store. And the lady asked me if I could help her. I did not know her. And from that stemmed other businesses, just from that one exchange of a business card. So now I have repeat customers. There was 110 guests on that cruise. So
That's
now
awesome.
I have those customers as a start to my business.
Right.
So it's just continuing to grow along the way.
Okay. So again, part of the reason why we're talking about this is that what you just shared can be super intimidating to some people. So one of your first earliest gigs came from a customer that you didn't have a relationship, meaning sometimes our friends can be more critical, but sometimes they can be more forgiving. So you had to service this person, and you put together a trip for 110 people. Some people would freak out thinking about that. How do you have the support to do that?
No worry, Jennifer, no worry at all. The great thing about this business is the vendor will do the work for you. All I did was call Carnival. I told Carnival what I needed. And guess what? They did all the work. All I did was hit forward on my computer. And then when the guests would call me, I would be as nice and polite as I possibly could. But guess what? All I did was log into Carnival's portal. And then I hit submit. And then I hit send an emailed receipt. That was as hard as it got for me. And then, can I tell you how much I made on that transaction?
I think people would be fascinated to hear how much you made on that transaction.
$6,500
Beautiful.
for something that I didn't do. Carnival did the work. I referred the customer to Carnival.
Well, but let's be real. You didn't do the work, but you did. And I think that's one of those things of, travel agents get paid to do nothing. And I keep wanting to say I want to call bullshit. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but that's what I want to call. No, you found the right provider with you did the research, you did the legwork, and you were the backup in case anything was going wrong. So, and it was a real person, not just a general phone number that you may or may not get service from. So it's one of those things of by going through a travel agent, you have access to a variety of resources and sometimes a variety of deals that
Correct.
you might not have in another way. So again, that's where value comes in. And again, the 110 people that went on this, they didn't all pay extra to use your services. That is part of the compensation package. And so they have you as an additional resource. And let me just ask, one of the things with cruises is you have the ability to do the excursions. Is that something that you helped people with, or is that something that they kind of handled then directly through the cruise line?
Either or. You can allow the Carnival to do the excursions for you, or I can cater to your needs and I can personalize your excursions. If you don't want to wait with everybody else when they get off the ship and do a group tour, you can go alone and I can help personalize that for you.
Beautiful. Well, again, the point of this conversation wasn't just to talk about, using a travel agent, but once Tara and I started the talking before we got on air, I said, I really want people to have an understanding of where a travel agent, a travel professional, fits into not just the scope of planning your own travel, which I think we've done a good job covering, but how it also fits into the possibilities of a way to have some income that relates to travel and to give yourself some additional travel opportunities as well, because now that is part of the job. So I want to take us down one possible rabbit hole, because there's got to be something. What's the thing that maybe drives you the most nuts or makes you most frustrated about the work that you're doing right now?
I just think that once people see the value of what I do, it changes things. So that's up to me. It's up to me to show the customer what I offer and why you should use me. And once I do that, it takes the burden off of the situation. And I had to learn that through experience.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
The other thing is
go ahead.
learning that those seeds that I plant, even though I may not make money in the beginning, that they will come back. Even if it doesn't come back with that particular customer, I learned from that experience. And then I can offer that to someone else that is willing to pay for the value that I offer them.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate that. We're all learning. And I will say, in this landscape of travel, things change all the time. And again, going with a travel professional, there are a lot of people whose travels have been disrupted due to natural disasters. Having a travel professional on your side to handle the worry of that stuff makes a huge difference than trying to wrangle all of that on your own. Things happen in all parts, especially if you're going to any of the remote parts of the world or things where there could be more political upset going on. All of those take a lot of planning and coordination. And if something's going wrong that's outside of your control, again, having a travel professional who's then connected to networks that can provide inside information rather than just Googling it makes a difference.
That's right.
So, well, Tara, I'd like to make sure that people know where they could find you if they want to talk to you more about either, maybe this is something that they want to take on themselves, or maybe they're looking for a travel agent to plan their next trip. Could you make sure you share that?
Sure, Jennifer. The best way to reach me is by emailing me at universal704@yahoo.com. That's universal704@yahoo.com. Or you can go to my website at terralyles.intellitravel.com. That's TerraLyles.com. travel.com.
Perfect. And we will have those links out on our show notes on the website. So you're able to connect with Terra and certainly ask questions and find out more about how this works. Terra, I really appreciate you being a part of our show.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me.
Wasn't it great to hear the stories that Terra shared with us today? I want you to keep in mind that using a travel agent is not cheating. Get some expert help if you're trying to figure out how to start on your first solo travel and you don't know what to do. If you love these stories and want to help support Go Solo Live, you can do that by making a small financial contribution to the show. There are lots of options with some great gifts of appreciation at www.patreon.com/GoSoloLive. That's www.patreon.com. Stop by and show the love. Well, sisters, we've reached the end of today's episode, but the conversation doesn't have to end there. Find me on Twitter at GoSoloLive and tweet to me. Tell me what you liked about the latest episode. Or if you know someone who would be a great guest, let me know at Go Solo Live on Twitter. Until next time, ladies, remember, go solo, but not alone.